if I can watch one game, which of course I'm going to watch about 7, but if I could only watch one game this Saturday, that's the one I'm watching. I'm fascinated to see if Michigan wakes up, and of course Wisconsin's got Jack Cohn at quarterback throwing for 400 yards a game against Central Michigan. So look out.
He's abusive against Michigan schools, so he might put something on Michigan as well. There's rumors that Zach Charbonnet is going to be out for this game or could possibly be out, so that would not be good for Michigan. Not that he's been tearing up the world right now, running the ball, and the Michigan offensive line isn't. They might get John Runyon back this week at left tackle, which would help. But I feel like this is a 2 or 3 touchdown game, and it seems crazy to say, but I have no faith. Michigan has more talent, but they're not a cohesive team. I don't have faith. They may have a better offensive line than Wisconsin, but Wisconsin's offensive line is better than Michigan's defensive line, which is also banged up. And the running backs are better than Michigan's linebacker, so there's a situation there. And if Jack Cohn doesn't make mistakes, I expect Shea Patterson to make mistakes. He's fumbling the ball 2 or 3 times a game. And I don't think he's thrown any interceptions maybe yet, but that's coming. And on the road, what is Jim Harbaugh's record as an underdog? It's not very good. This feels like a comfortable win for Wisconsin. And I know Wisconsin having comfortable wins in the past maybe means like a 10-point win, but this feels more like 17 or something to me.
Really? Wisconsin by 17?
If we're saying Wisconsin by 17, so you're saying like 20-3 or something like that. Because I don't expect a real high scoring game. Wisconsin, obviously, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I think he's going to have some success running the ball, but I think Michigan will do a good job of limiting his big hits. I think he'll have a couple of big runs, but we're not going to see a situation of where he's going to just run wild and go for a deuce and a half or anything along those lines. I think Michigan's playing the wrong quarterback right now, and I understand that they backed everything up in terms of trying to bringing Shea Patterson in, but I think with the Josh Gaddis offense and whatnot, I don't know if Patterson is the right guy, and I think that I don't know if they can make a change at 35,000 feet and go to McCaffrey at this point. It's not like you're going to necessarily lose the locker room or anything along those lines, but I mean, it certainly does send some shockwaves if you go and you make the change at this point. That's something I think you had to do at the start of the season, barring an injury or things along those lines. But I don't know. I think Wisconsin wins as well. I see it in about a 10-point game myself. I could see Gerd's situation happening, but if it's going to be 17, I think we're talking 20-3 or 24-7 because I don't know what the over-under is in this game, but I'm liking the under.
Well, we've got some late breaking news from George, who says the entire Michigan team is entering the transfer portal on Monday.
I don't know how many people are going to be wanting a lot of those guys. So,
Yeah.
The Michigan defense, it doesn't have a lot of depth, and I think there's the secondary. The corners are good, and if like I said, if Jack Cohn can just protect the ball. Wisconsin, I like their skill players. I feel like the Michigan defensive line is going to get worn down. They're soft in the middle. As I've said before, when you're starting fullback last year is now your starting defensive tackle. That's a bad sign. One of your starting inside linebackers was a former walk-on safety. That's a bad sign. The depth and the recruiting, the talent, it's not what it should be, especially after 4 or 5 years of Jim Harbaugh. And really, you talk about losing the locker room, Kevin. I don't know if you guys watched the Amazon show a couple years ago, or I think it was last year on the Michigan football season. That was some of the most joyless football scenes you've ever seen. And I'm not talking about on the field. Some of those were joyless as well. But off the field, in the practice, the players look like they are miserable, and that was we talked about. We did a weekly review on my podcast of each show, and that was one of the themes was These guys just look like they are not having fun. And I don't know how you can capture a locker room if the players aren't having fun. And that's something, you see with the Ohio State defense this year, talking about how much fun they're having and how much fun they weren't necessarily having last year. Ryan Day has this locker room. They are behind him. I don't know, I don't know how much the locker room is behind Jim Harbaugh. Not that they aren't. I just don't know how much they are. It feels like at some point change's sake would be a good idea. And I'm not talking about Harbaugh. I'm probably talking about Shea Patterson. After his second fumble against Army, I thought it was time to try McCaffrey and see what happens. But they stuck with him, and I don't know if they feel like it would be a panic move, and Harbaugh doesn't want to be seen as a guy panicking, even though, you can't just keep pushing the rock up the hill only to have it fall back down on you.
Well, to play off of what Gerd was saying too, that'd be on the Amazon show. That'd be a really weird editorial decision to go with the whole "they're just not having fun" motif. That means those had to have been the most fun highlights that they had that they were showing, because unless they really were just trying to make it look completely joyless. So I didn't watch the show as closely as Tony did, but that's something that's very odd. But yeah, I don't know. I just haven't seen it out of Shea Patterson when he was at Ole Miss. I mean, when you have guys like AQ Brown and some of those guys, I mean, it was just a much better offense set up for him. And I understand that it's on Josh Gaddis to try and bring this this offense out of 1997 and into today. But I don't know if today's offense is really suited to what Patterson is good at. And right now, it just appears that he's good at fumbling.
It's very good.
Well, talk about joyless. As we look at Ohio State's main competition in the Big Ten Eastern Division, Michigan State, they're having all sorts of problems too. They scored 7 points against Arizona State, and this has been going on now for a year and a half. And that was some ugly football out of Michigan State, and in the defense and the offensive discrepancy can't be good for the locker room there either.
Mark, I'm going to need you to refer to all teams from now on, like Mike Leach did with his mascot prediction, and just it's going to be Spartans, and then we're just going to, if we can't actually talk Buckeye football this week against Miami, I'm going to need you to be able to say what Brutus versus a Red Hawk is going to be like. Please tell me you guys have seen this, Mike.
Yes.
Leach.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
No, let's just pretend we didn't make you feel even more awkward.